Good morning, I'm back after about a month off YouTube. I'm on my way to church actually. To be more specific, I'm on an overnight cycling trip and I'm going to spend the night in a 13th century church. Got it all to myself for about the price of a travel lodge. It's known as champing. If you don't know what that is, I'll explain later in the video. I'm really looking forward to going back to a church that I visited before at a stunning location down the end of a track. And it's overlooking the River Till. It's on the edge of Salisbury Plain. That's what's coming up. The van going over the ford at the lovely village of Wellow. This is actually the Wellow Brook. Quite often that's in flood. You'll see it gets up as high as 6 feet. Quite often that's waterlogged. Now I've been here filming before and a car came along and I suddenly realised this Packhorse Bridge is wide enough for cars. I had to move out the way. So I'm about 5 miles south of Bath. I need to climb up out of the valley very sharply, then head over that way towards Hinton Charterhouse. Once I've got my breath back and we've got some good views, I'll find the gateway and I'll tell you a little bit about the route and the bike I'm on. After about 3/4 of a mile, we're kind of doubling back on ourselves. Halfway up that hill you may see that defined line. That's what I've come in along. That's the course of the old Somerset and Dorset Railway, which is now Greenway. So I went along to Wellow, did a V shape, and now I'm going up this way. 2 sides of a triangle. Now I'm avoiding a main road that goes up over those woods, and I'll intersect it at the top. And then it's mostly downhill then until we get to the outskirts of Warminster. It's a lovely peaceful road up here. To try and keep the videos a bit shorter, I've decided to make 2 videos on this trip. There'll be today, getting from my hometown of Bath to the church. It's at Rollestone, or Rollestone, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, on the edge of Salisbury Plain. That's a military training area just north of the town city of Salisbury. I'll show you on a map shortly. And then the second part will be the champing tonight and probably be a little bit of tomorrow. So 2 videos, 1 cycling, 1 for churches. Champing is staying in churches overnight. I've got permission. It's part of the Churches Conservation Trust where you pay to stay and have exclusive use of the church. You, your family, your friends, or solo, as I do. It's going to be one of the smallest I've ever been to, and also there's very few facilities there, which is what I quite like. It's got a very rustic charm to it. Just to tell you about the bike I'm on is my giant Tough Road SLR2. It's the bike I use for touring and winter use, and I've got a rack on it, 4-point fixing rack, and I've got my 2 carriage-eye panniers. They're 3/4 full, but I've left plenty of room for a bottle of wine there tonight and maybe some food for later on. 2 water bottles, 1 squash, 1 water. There is no tap at the church tonight, but they supply bottled water with one of their partner charities. You may see I've really reflected up my spokes with all the grey and green spoke lights. That looks fantastic, not just at night but even in the daytime when it catches the sun. This July I will have had this bike coming up to 2 years. I've done a few mods on it, like putting mud guards on and a 4-point fixing rack and these bar ends. Back in January I rode the 100-kilometre Audax event, the Jack and Grace from Almondsbury north of Bristol. And I rode there and back, which made it over 100 miles. That was great to get a ton in during January. On that ride, when I was going up some of the hills, I started feeling a creak going through the frame. Only when I got out the saddle, when I was putting a lot of torque on it, and I just thought obviously it needs some maintenance. I've been riding it all through the winter, through lots of rain and puddle water. When I changed the cassette and the chain for the second time, That was a couple of months later. I thought I'd solved it, but then it started coming back even when I was going up hills sat in the saddle. In fact, recently I was going up a really steep hill at Horton, up onto the Cotswold Ridge, onto the A46, and it was creaking and grinding so much. This lady was walking in front of me, and she had those earpods on, the AirPods, so she may have been listening to music or something, and even she looked around, it was making that much noise. And I came home and I thought, I think it's almost certainly the bottom bracket. I took the cartridge bottom bracket out. There wasn't much play in the cartridge bottom bracket, but when I really cranked the cranks, put pressure on them by hand, you could hear a little bit of clicking now and again. And I took it out, and you'll see the non-dried side, this side, had lots of corrosion around it. I think all the grease had got washed out, just riding through so much road water. And I put a new bottom bracket in, and it's been absolutely fine ever since. If you've got this make of bike and you don't know what bottom bracket it is, it's a cartridge taper style, and it's 113 millimeters length. I mean, I didn't know what length I would need until I took it out, so I just replaced like for like. It's just so nice coming up through here. I am aware that some of my chest mounted shots, the chest camera that I'm filming on now, in recent videos have been sloping down a bit too much. I've tried to adjust the clamp a little bit, get more of the view that I'm seeing, because it is a little bit frustrating when I'm describing how nice it is and all you can see is the front tyre. Oh, bird song everywhere. The route, the entire route, including overshooting the church so I can go down to Shrewton, a small town, and get a bottle of wine and then retrace. The whole route is only 49 miles and I'm already coming up to 6. So I could easily be there by midday, but I left early to give myself plenty of time to film, and also there is rain forecast later on, 50-60% chance, so it's quite probable I will get caught in rain, so I'm hoping I can just shelter, sit it out. There's a little dip here just before we do sharp right hand bend up through these woods, and this is the Triple SI area. It's a site of special scientific interest, and it really is nice up here, if a bit muddy in the winter. Oh, bluebells everywhere. Oh, this is wonderful. Beats a busy B road, doesn't it? I'm now approaching Warminster. It's a military town at the foot of Salisbury Plain. You can see that big ridge up there. That's the high ground of Salisbury Plain. And if you go along there towards Westbury, where that train's just going round the corner, you'll see the famous Westbury White Horse on this northern escarpment as it starts to slope down. It's coming up to 20 past 11 and I'm on the outskirts of Warminster, just on this little cut through road. There used to be a country lane, and back that way I've just crossed over at right angles a busy road, and before that I dropped down through Upton Scudamore, and then I'm heading into Warminster that way. That big hill with the aerial on is quite a famous landmark. Just the other side of Warminster, you don't even have to go through it, you skirt around it past the army barracks. I'll speak to you next in a few miles the other side of Warminster as we start riding along the glorious Wyley Valley Road, part of the Wiltshire Cycleway. In fact, I'll speak to you just as we cross over the River Wyley, then we'll snake alongside it for a few miles. I've just come down from where that grey car's emerging. That's round the outskirts of Warminster, past the army barracks, and here we are, the River Wyley. Just about to cross it here, and then we're going to be following it down for a few miles. to that lovely chalk stream. This will carry on down about 10 miles towards Salisbury, just on the outskirts of Salisbury at Quidhampton. It will flow into the River Nadder, coming in from the west, and then they'll both go through Salisbury, do a sharp right hand turn into the River Avon, which is pretty much flowing north to south. It's coming up to midday. I'm about halfway to tonight's destination. I can get into church whatever time I like. I believe it's open all day. I've got exclusive access from 5 PM onwards, so I cannot lock it until 5 PM, but I can get in at whatever time. I'm going to have a bit of lunch along here, so let me explain why and where I'm going. In about a mile, this road will get very quiet. It's a favourite route for cyclists. In fact, it's part of the Wiltshire Cycleway. It runs down alongside the River Wylie between Warminster and roughly Salisbury, and the railway runs alongside it as well. And the main road, the A36, about a mile away, but this is, I wouldn't say traffic free, but very, very quiet and pleasant. I've ridden it many, many times, in excess of 100. I thought I knew it quite well until a couple of years ago, and it's a perfect example why adding a theme to your rides just opens up areas that you thought you knew well. And I was exploring all the churches along the River Wylie. I gave myself a little winter desktop project. I tried to follow the River Wylie as closely as possible, on road and off, from its source to its confluence. And as an extra bonus, I thought every church that's less than a mile away, a mile maximum, I will class that as a Wylie Valley church and go and visit them all. And I found all these amazing churches down there, thinking at the time, I've ridden by so many times, how did I never know that's there? So one of them, just in about half a mile's time, is going to be our lunch stop. So about half a mile further on, this is the quite busy village this morning of Bishopstrow. There's the old schoolhouse, Bishopstrow Village Hall. Ridden by here many times, just thought these were dead ends. In fact, that one says no through road. And we're going down here, and this is a dead end, but it takes us down to this lovely, lovely church. And it's so close to the road, because I know it's there now, I can see it. But before I thought, how had I ever ridden by this so many times and not known this was here? Such a lovely location. And I know there's a seat over on the far side of the churchyard, which is a sun trap, because I stopped and had a lunch here once before. There's my bike next to the cricket pitch in a residential area. This lovely seat, and that's my view for lunch. It's so nice to be in a lovely sunny churchyard looking at a church as my view for lunch. The last month or so I've been doing fastish, harder rides up over the Cotswolds and the Mendips, just to try and increase the pace a little bit, purely to build up my strength and my endurance for the coming months, the summer months, and to try and burn a little bit of winter fat off that I seem to put on each year now. There's the echo of the midday chime. Lovely, just sat here, so you can tell the bell's just rung 12 times midday. I was just looking at the size of the church. I have been to tonight's destination before. It's when I was visiting all the churches, Conservation Trust properties, redundant churches, in the historic county of Wiltshire. And as I left Amesbury, I joined the A303, and I thought surely my GPS would not have sent me along here. And it sends me along a pavement, and then you cross over it. There's an island there, I believe. And then you go up an old road which has been closed to traffic, and it's all grassed over. It's a track, it's a bridleway footpath, and you can ride along it, and it takes you right alongside Stonehenge, so you can ride by or walk by and just see the stones without having to pay to get in. It's been very heavily commercialised with the visitor centre. I was just looking at the size of the church, and as I remember St Andrew's at Rollestone, where we're staying tonight, I think the whole church, the chancel and the nave, there's no bell tower, it's no bigger than the nave here, probably smaller. There's a little bell tower at the end, I seem to remember, so I'm really looking forward to getting there. I'll tell you more about Champing when we get there. So as I said, after lunch we'll carry on along the Wylye Valley. It will get much quieter once we leave this village, and then we'll head down towards Salisbury. A few miles north of it we take a left-hand turn and head up towards Amesbury. It's a big military town on the outskirts of Salisbury Plain, and then after Amesbury we take another direction change, heading back towards Bath, ironically, north of the Wylye Valley, and that'll take us past Stonehenge, and then we drop down to Rollestone. Going to overshoot the church, go down to the village of Shrewton, get myself a bottle of wine hopefully for tonight, and then backtrack to the church. Meantime, I'm just loving this spot. Blue sky, all the bird song, and at the moment no sign of rain, although that's the direction we're heading, so I can see there's grey clouds coming. It's lovely and sunny here on the south side of the church. I've just finished my lunch. I'm going to give it 10 minutes to go down before I head off. I'm just looking at one of the graves here. I think sometimes walking through churchyards just reminds you of your own mortality, and I was looking at that one, Mum and Dad, and the lady who fell asleep aged 77 years, and then her husband, what was that, 7 years later. It says side by side together in the arms of the angels. And there's a little picture of a train there. Whether he was a train driver or they liked trains, I don't know. Mum and Dad. It reminded me of a little meeting I had last year on my Thankful Villages cycle ride from Bath, my hometown, to Great Yarmouth. The second night I went to visit St Mary's at Radnage. I wanted to go there for years because it's the location of a film that I actually love. I've seen so many times, A Month in the Country, starring Colin Firth and Kenneth Branagh, and I just knew, I was riding by and I just thought, I've always wanted to go to the church, I'll go there. And I knew there was a campsite about a mile away, so it was just perfect. And it's at the foot of the Chiltern Hills, and I've just, a bit like today, I've just had a little bit to eat. I've just kind of getting ready to head off and go and find this campsite, and there's this lady, middle-aged lady, a bit younger than me maybe, and we got talking, and she was tending her dad's grave, and it's clearly that it was clear talking to her that she missed her dad so much and loved him very much. And we got talking, and I really opened up with her. Actually, I told her about my own parents, and I told her things probably I've never told anybody in my life actually, and I didn't realise it at the time. It had a quite profound effect on me actually. So just sitting here looking at that Mum and Dad makes me think of that lady there. Our paths crossed. We had this deep, profound conversation, which I found really, really moving. And then, lo and behold, our paths separated, and never seen her since. I'm just thinking of her, actually. Just looking at that headstone there, Mum and Dad, from their clearly living children, just made me think of that meeting back last year at Radnage. As I said, it had a deeply profound effect on me, although I didn't realise how much so at the time. I'm so glad I came here for my lunch. I knew before I'd always come back here because I passed it so many times, and I was just coming out of Warminster. I thought, yes, I was coming out of Warminster thinking, well look, I know where all the churches are down the Wylye Valley because I visited them all last year, and I suddenly remembered this one and that seat there, and I just thought, hey ho, fantastic place for lunch. We're now on the quiet Wylye Valley Road just south of Sutton Veny. That's looking over towards the A36, the Bristol to Southampton road, which we're paralleling, but it's far enough away not to hear it now. You can just see the odd big vehicle going by. That's going up onto Marlborough Downs. And then over that way, along the top of that ridge line would be the old Roman road, Margary's 45B. From Old Sarum up to Chartres on the Mendips. It stays on high ground most of the way until it gets to the Mendips. It goes up and down a couple of times, then climbs up on the Mendips. Then beyond that would be Cranbourne Chase. Do get a bit of traffic along here, but not much. See all the fields starting to turn yellow with the rapeseed. Paddock over there, look at it, that's more yellow than green with all the dandelions. Fields of rape up there. Just wonderful along here. Like many cyclists from around here, I've ridden this road so many times, but it wasn't until I did that little churches project that I went off down tracks and then across fields to find remote churches, anything that was within about a mile of the River Wylie, north or south, and I found so many lovely places doing that. I used to go past little cut throughs, think, I wonder where that leads. Does it lead anywhere? And I'd eventually find out, yes, it does. You may have to ride across a few fields, but it'll take you up to a church or a little village. So I just love this road down here. I'm just savouring every moment of this, because we're going down it about another 6 or 7 miles before we turn off it. You can just hear a train going by over there. You can see all this yellow of the rape. The smell coming off it is wonderful. There's just a little bit of rain in the air. And there's an information board here. I always stop here and doff my cap for a minute or so. It tells you about the Anzacs in Codford. Briefly, during World War I, the Wylie Valley became the centre of large training and transfer camps for tens of thousands of troops waiting to move to France. The Lamb Down chalk badge and the Anzac War Cemetery are the only reminders of a period troops from Britain, Australia and New Zealand were stationed in and around the village. During the summer you can't see that from here, I can just see it through the gap in the trees. Before they've got their foliage. The best place to spot that is back there, the other side of that farm. Stop just as you come up the road and you'll see it face on. I mentioned earlier on that I did this winter desktop project. I mentioned earlier on I did this winter planning desktop project where I traced the course of the River Wylie and then tried to follow it as closely as possible on roads and tracks and visit all the churches in the valley. And I remember it was a 2-day trip and I got down about as far as here in the evening, went over that way a mile or so on the other side of the A36. I forget the name of the church, and it's got a lovely church that I camped in. Actually, I got there just as the sun was going down, and there was lots of references to the Anzacs over there, so there are references to it if you look close enough. I always stop here and doff my cap. About halfway between Warminster, Wilton and Salisbury on what's known as this Wylie Valley Road, we pass underneath the A303. Here it is here, and we run right alongside the Bristol to Portsmouth Railway here as well. From peace and beauty, very suddenly you pass under a major trunk road. It's a motorway in all but name, and a fairly busy main railway as well, heading towards Salisbury that way. Bristol's where I've come from. Then the village of Wylie is just round here. If you need supplies ever along here, just turn off to the left. It's got a post office, stores, shop and a pub. But there's a train going by. So this is Wylie. The village gets its name from the river all the way round. So to continue in the direction we want to head down towards Salisbury, we turn right here along what's known as Teapot Lane. If you head on down there, Dyer Lane, that'll take you down into the village where there's a post office, shop, supplies, pub. So it may feel like you're miles away from supplies down here, but there's not actually if you just turn left back there. This little cut through will bring you back out on the Wylie Valley Road by this flint and stone church, Teapot Street. So down there is probably where he's heading, the post office and the shop. We continue along here a couple more miles. I'm going to get Google Maps up shortly and have a look, because we're going to be quite close to the confluence where the River Till flows into the River Wylie, just over to our left. Just as we leave the village, there's a turning right there which will take you up over the downs. It's a pretty spectacular road over into the Chalk Valley. over towards Dinton. Then almost instantly back in a nice quiet peaceful country lane. I'm just going to pull in this little lay-by here, get some bearings. There's a point of interest that I don't really want to miss. You cannot see it, but you'll know when you're near it, if that makes sense. There's a train about to go by from right to left. I know there'll be a lot of glare on here when I film onto my camera screen. You see the blue dot down there, that's my location dot running down that way, and right above us is Shrewton and Rollestone, and just over there somewhere is where the River Till flows from Till's Head up north down past our location for tonight, Rollestone. We should be able to look down on it from the churchyard, and then it flows into the River Wylie just about there somewhere. We cannot see it from here. It'd be lovely to have a drone and put it up and get an aerial shot. Who knows, maybe one day put it on my Christmas list, a drone. And here we're pretty much looking up at our destination for tonight. Over there is Rollestone, and just past it Shrewton, the village where we're going to go and find some wine hopefully. So almost directly up there, somewhere along the top of that hill line. And over that way would be Stonehenge. Now, I could take a left here and go straight up, but I don't want to. I want to carry on a few more miles down to Great Wishford and then climb up that way, skirt round the edge of Amesbury, and then do a brief bit along a pavement on the A303, because it's that road we've just ridden under, really busy dual carriageway, although it's single carriageway as it goes past Stonehenge. Very, very busy. I would urge you not to ride on that. I'm going to be riding on a pavement alongside it just briefly, and then we'll cross over it. And we'll ride right past Stonehenge and come into Rollestone from that direction. That's looking south up over to the hills, which will drop down to Chalk Valley and on to Cranbourne Chase. There's an airplane up there, can't see it, just above the clouds. This is a favourite church of mine, that one down there. You've got that very distinctive Wiltshire design of stone and flint. You can see it's almost like a checkered board. There's a little bell tower. That's very similar to what we're going to tonight, except our one is even smaller. Oh, there it is, helicopter up there, heading over towards Salisbury Plain. I'll see if I can zoom in and get a shot of that. So we're just coming into Great Wishford. We're right next to the River Wylie here, just slightly a few feet above it, opposite these few houses. And this road is almost converging with the A36. May just see a few cars going along there. So we're going to go along here, turn left, join it very briefly and almost immediately turn off it, and then start heading up over those hills there up towards Stonehenge and our church for the night. Once again, been lovely riding down here. I never get tired of this. This is a small little village of Great Wishford. Up there, the Royal Oak. Crossroads here. We would go straight on if we wanted to carry on along the Wylie Valley Road down to Wilton and Salisbury. We're going to turn left here, cross over the river, briefly join the A36, then turn off it, start a long climb over towards Salisbury Plain. That's what we're heading for over there, ladies and gentlemen. Going to be climbing up all over there. Nothing steep, it's just a long old grind. Coming down on these water meadows. Going to cross the river shortly again. So we've just come through on this link road through Great Wishford, crossing over the river here. It's really widened out, isn't it? It's flowing fast. And then we're going to join the A36 very briefly, left and then almost immediate right, start climbing up over towards Stonehenge. The Wylye Valley, it never fails to deliver, it really doesn't. No matter what time of the year, wherever your destination, whatever time of day, whatever time of the year, just a magic place. Beautiful. So it was only about 100 yards actually on that road. In fact, I rode along the pavement. It can be quite busy, that road. And now we're on a long gradual climb. Can you see the hill line up the top there? That's what we're heading for, that summit. Climbing out of Stowford, looking back over there, somewhere is the Wylye Valley on the other side of the main road, which is actually indicated by this line of houses here. And here's where we're heading, all up through there. Nothing steep, just a very gradual climb, which I'm going to really enjoy. Okay, we're at the top of this road at this junction where we go straight over the A360. Devizes that way, Salisbury that way, and we're going that way towards the Woodfords. Should be a nice fast drop now down into the valley. Wow, look at the scenery. It's got that smell of sewage up here. I guess it's silage, isn't it, on the fields, and the wind and the traffic behind me. Just hear that whistle every now and again of those moorland birds. Is it a curlew? I'm not sure. Payback time. I've just come down on that road and I realised we're in the Avon Valley. That's heading down towards Salisbury. So the Wylye we were on will merge with it down there. This is lovely. Gosh, look at family of ducks over there by the seat. They're not real, they're plastic. But it looks really quite cute for me, the 2 adults and the 3 on the bench. We're going to go up here. I've seen signposts for Amesbury, so we're heading up towards Amesbury. That's the closest big place to Stonehenge. We're going to skirt around it and then head up towards the A303. That really busy road we crossed underneath earlier on. We're going to ride on a pavement alongside it. So back in the 1980s, or probably the 1990s, I used to ride with Bath Cycling Club, and on the Sunday we'd have our club run, and it was normally 8:30, back by about 12, half 12, 1 maybe. And then about twice a year we'd do an all-day run. I remember there was always one round about the solstice in June. One year we did this really big ride. It was a midday ride, an all-day ride, about 100 miler. And I think we came out through Devizes, and it was when they used to have the New Age travellers try and access Stonehenge for the solstice, and the police used to put barricades around it and roadblocks. And we came up against one of those, and the club captain, Brian, my mate, sort of diplomatically got us through. Sort of said, look, we're cyclists, we're on a club run, it's about 20 miles detour, and they let us through. And then I remember we came down here, and I guess probably what we were doing is going down that way and heading back up the Wylye Valley. Memories are a bit vague, but I've got really strong memory of that police roadblock. I texted him the other night to see if he could remember any more, but his memory's a bit vague as well. When we got on the A303 briefly, we're going to cut across it with great care up towards Stonehenge, and there's a green byway that goes up there. I'll show you some before and after photographs. And that's what the road used to be, and I'm pretty sure that's the one that the police had road blocked off back in the 1990s when New Age travellers were a problem. I think now they're all middle-aged. They've probably got bookshops up in Hay-on-Wye or antique shops down at Brighton. I'm riding from left to right on this road which runs right alongside the river, but I had to just stop and have a look at this. How nice is this? It looks like it's even lit up at night, look, with these lights. There's the power pack. Lovely pub garden there with the gazebo. That's looking back down towards Salisbury. Oh, just how delightful is this? Little tea gardens there, look. Wow, people who own that probably need some money to live around here. I seem to remember Madonna or her husband had a house along here somewhere. Big estate just off the valley. Don't know if they still live down here. But it gives you an idea of the money you probably need to live around here. And the great thing about Champing is I've got a 13th century listed building all to myself tonight for the price of a travel lodge. We've just come up this T-junction from West Amesbury down there, and there's the boundary sign for the town or the city of Amesbury up there. It gets very busy. We're going to turn right here onto Stonehenge Road. So before the bypass this would have been the main road, and it will just simply merge onto the A303. You can see the brown Stonehenge sign in front of us. About half a mile further along on Stonehenge Road, I've already been riding on the pavement here. This is where we merge into dual carriageway. Can you see that bottle sign, second one along? That's where this dual carriageway becomes single carriageway. Along here it's about to go from this busy dual carriageway for a few miles at crawler pace on single carriageway. They've been trying to rectify this for years. You may have seen on the news recently there was a consultation which cost something like 179, 180 million pounds, which caused a bit of an uproar. And the NHS burns through that every 8 hours, 24 hours a day, 365 every year. So it's loose change for them. I know you can feel angry about taxpayers' money being wasted like that. It doesn't surprise me. In fact, it doesn't even bother me anymore. I've just given up caring, I really have. Can you see the stones up there? There's a big circle around it, all the people milling around, and the road going down. And can you see the two fences, that defined green line going up there? That's the old road. The one that we were allowed to ride down on that all-day club run back in the 1990s has since been closed as a road. So we got to get across there. Can you see, you wouldn't want to ride along here. When the pavement ends, that's time for us to get across. Can you see the pavement ends and there's the crossing? There's no central island, but there is that exclusion zone there. So that's what I'm going to head for. It could do with an island there, really. The traffic's slowed down, let me run right across without having to stop. So it's nice to get through there. This is what we're heading up, the old road. There's the traffic going up the slope we've just come down. There's our course. We're right on the edge of Stonehenge. Get almost as good a view as those people there. They paid about 25 quid to go in. I got to say Stonehenge doesn't really do anything for me. I'm sure it's historically and nationally important, but it just doesn't. Same with Stanton Drew, Standing Stones and Avebury. Criminal offence to go in there. I think that's the closest you can park if you want to come independently. But they also do a bus service, and we'll see the car park along there. They come along a road that we're going to be joining shortly. Well, it's what this used to be. It will actually return to tarmac. I've never been in the visitors centre. As I said, it doesn't really hold any interest in me. This is close enough for me. I will make a bet now, a calculated bet. I've never been in the visitors centre, but I'm pretty sure there'll be a gift shop quite close to the exit. If you have been in, and I'm right, or if I'm wrong, drop a comment in the description below. Wow. It's quite bleak up here, isn't it? We're actually not far from our church. For me, this is just my personal viewpoint, I'm really excited about the church. That really does excite me, knowing I'm staying there tonight. That just really doesn't. It's interesting to see, but that's about as far as it goes for me. That was quite nice. That person in the red, the lady along there, the one I'd seen from the road, I now realise what she was trying to do. Her husband's hat had blown over the fence. Of course, just as I can't get in, they can't get out. So I was able to hand the hat back to them. That's really nice. A couple of American tourists. I've nearly lost my own baseball cap a couple of times. I should have turned it, you know, to do this scaffolding version of a hat, the builders, Bob the Builder. Anyway, you can see we're about to join the old tarmac road here. This is what the road used to be. There's a coach going along, another one coming in. Along here, what feels like a busway, well, it is a busway, isn't it? Because you've just got the coaches taking visitors from the visitor centre to Stonehenge that way. They're almost non-stop. You can walk along here as pavement. I've just seen this memorial. I thought it was a preaching cross at first, but there's quite a moving plaque there. It says, in memory of Major Alexander William Hewston, 66th Battery Royal Field Artillery, who was killed whilst flying on the 17th of July 1913 near this spot. One of the really early military aviators. Gosh, that looks almost like Anglo-Saxon, doesn't it? Obviously that's way before I was born, but I can conceptualise that history, whereas that to me just doesn't really mean anything. You can see it here. It looks iconic on a postcard, but that's about it as far as I'm concerned. So that's looking back along the old road, the tarmac bit. There's the visitor centre, the car park. As the road crosses the A360, we're going to go straight on here, Airman's Corner. Huge car park, visitor centre. You can see they get the buses to and from here, about the mile along the stones. And we're really not far from our church now. I'm really looking forward to getting there actually. I seem to remember you just go over a little bit of a brow of a hill, then you start dropping down. The church will be off on a track to the left. As I say, I'm going to overshoot it, go down to the village town of Shrewton. My Garmin track should take me right to a co-op, and then I'll double back, come back to the church, and then it finish at the church. Steep little drop. I'll be able to ride up the pavement on the way back or push up. Just before the church, I checked the time and it's 3 minutes past 4. So it's probably about 20 past 4 now. So it's not bad timing really, is it? Have a look at the river on the way back. And the co-op should be there, yep. Right where my Garmin said it would be. Mission successful. Got myself a bottle of white sparkling Prosecco, £7.50. They did have rosé, but that was £10.50. I just like my bargains. Okay, I just got plenty of room in that pannier. I made sure when I packed it this morning there's plenty of excess space. All I've got to do is lug it back up that hill. Okay, we're almost there. We're just about to turn off right. There's a board here telling you about it. It says the gate nearby takes you to the tiny and charming St Andrew's Church. There it is. Rollestone, which was built mainly in the 13th century of flint and stone checkerwork with 2 large perpendicular windows. The little wooden bell turret was added in the 19th century. Inside it has its original font and Georgian heraldic glass. The oak benches with Jacobean carved ends come from St Catherine's in Hayden, Dorset. The church was originally owned by the religious crusading order of the Knights Hospitaller for 350 years. It is open to the public and is still occasionally used for religious gatherings. Lovers Lane begins to the left of the gate to the church. That's just round there. And you can take a walk down to the water meadows where you will cross the River Till and either onto Winterbourne Stoke, which would take you about an hour, where you'll find the Bell Pub, or alternatively you can take a circular walk of about 3 miles. I may take a wander down there later on to the water meadows. Looks lovely, doesn't it? So I've lost my momentum there. I need to get back on up here. Hello. So we've got Rollestone Manor on our right, and down here is the church. I can see it from here. What a lovely place. Oh, there's the river down there. Might take a wander down there later on. It does feel like you're about to go into somebody's property. And here's the gate to the church. So beyond there is somebody's drive. And here's the church, ladies and gentlemen.